Today we have the honored Lilyana Pavlova. Thank you very much for being here with us at the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy. We would like to ask you a couple of questions. What does cultural diplomacy mean to you? And how do you think cultural diplomacy can play an important role for Bulgaria or the relations between Bulgaria and the world?
Well, cultural diplomacy is something I think very, very important. This is as well as we mentioned in our preliminary discussion before we start this interview. It's a great opportunity of having some topics, some ideas which are more technocratic, more formal, then shared with some cultural ideas, events, and people getting to know each other in a different way, from a different perspective. Because I guess this is the main problem, I mean, in some cases. Because we don't know each other quite well. Different countries are not aware of each other's habits, ideas, and some specificities. And this is an excellent way, I suppose, and I do believe, to promote what is inside us, not only to see the statistical data or to talk about theory or special topics. Talking about Bulgaria and promotion of Bulgaria, of course, I think that events like today's event or events promoting not only, let's say, purely either intergovernment or operations, relations, but promoting more culture, more different nice stories in a more informal way should be a good option, because many people don't know about Bulgaria much. Even some people don't know where it is, I guess. It happened to me even sometimes with some colleagues, people I met from different continents. And this should be improved in the 21st century when we have all the media. I think this is a good way to promote this.
Okay, and do you also think that the concept of cultural diplomacy can play a part in different initiatives, in different parliamentary initiatives? Do you think?
Yes, definitely. Even though I'm not, for a long time member of parliament, I used to work for more than 15 years in the civil service, in the state administration, but dealing with EU funds, where I have the chance to travel a lot and meet other people, countries in more informal way. I'm new in the business of parliament and politics, but I think that the idea of having so-called friendship groups between the members of parliament of the different countries is a very good idea on one side. But on the other side, at least for these 9 months since I'm a member of parliament, I don't see them so much being, creative or providing an opportunity for real cultural diplomacy. Still, they're quite formal, I should say. I mean, members of one parliament meeting with members of the other parliament. But I think this could be further elaborated, and it could really work and help. So this is a great opportunity, I guess, because if we talk about ministers on EU level, we have met on a ministerial meetings, but it's good to have informal meetings. It's good to have people seeing each other, really different perspectives to be seen. The same it should be with the parliament.
Okay, and on a more civil level, there's also sort of a cultural exchange between different groups in the Bulgarian society or with other countries.
Yeah, because I think in all countries we do have cultural institutes, the French one, German one, cultural institutes. They are communicating between each other, but I guess they are very profiled. I mean, artists are meeting, different craft makers or whatever, but they are very profound. And I suppose we need to work more to establish them to be more open to the regular daily activities of people, not to be so much in a specificity of a certain profile.
So you mentioned also friendship committees and the collaboration between different countries. So here at the Institute we always talk about trust and the role of trust in the international relations So how do you think cultural diplomacy can help build up trust between different countries?
Well, good question. Because talking about trust, I think that trust is everything. I mean, because we have problems sometimes maybe in communicating with some people because we are so much stick with what we think about them or the country or their nature. But when you get to know each other better in a more informal way, you understand that what stands behind, because there is always something behind. I mean, in a positive way, said. And this is about trust in people, trust in. Really to believe that someone can help you, you can share with him, and that not always to think of being so negative and thinking that, oh, he's asking me this, but what he means behind, and what shall I tell the whole truth, the whole story, shall I be open or shall I be very nice but saying nothing at the end, because this is something about very very specific from my point of view about diplomacy as such, that sometimes we think that we have those diplomats, I mean the typical old style diplomats, that they talk a lot and they don't say anything because they need to be very careful to be politically correct. But and at the end of the day, I think that the new generation of diplomats and the new generation of people like ourselves sitting here, we're different. I mean, we are ready to be more radical even sometimes if necessary, but really to share our opinion and to be honest. I think that the trust and the honesty are the two very important things.
Yeah, okay, then regarding creative economies are not the most revenue generating industries. But in your opinion, like how can the creative economies take part in creating sustainable development growth?
Well, first of all, I think that creative economies is about everything in economy, because creative, it could be media, it could be crafts, arts, whatever, but it could be even a business economy oriented services, which in any case provide employment, provide growth to the economy. And it is already changing the way of thinking, because we have a saying in Bulgaria that once a mother said to her daughter, "You should never become a musician. Musicians are always poor. If you're a musician, you can never, you always, you always be hungry, suffering
sad.
a lot." It is an old, let's say, old story and saying. I don't think this is true anymore, because really creative economies now provide added value to economies if they are positioned in a good way. I mean, in the whole picture of economy, because it's a normal part already of economy as such in global terms.
Yeah, thank you.
And when we talk about creative economies, how do you think we can connect creative economies and promoting our own country's nation branding, so we can have more successful achievements in this field?
Oh yeah, definitely, I think so, because even from what we've seen today, I mean, each country has its own arts, crafts, specificities, which if they are, first of all, promoted in a good way, and people know more about them, they will be attracted to go there, to travel, to be able to see what are they, how they are done and produced. And for example, for a country like ours, with 1,300 years of experience, 1,300 years since the country was founded, we have amazing crafts and amazing historical heritage to show, but it is not so famous, I think, around the world. And those who are producing it are, as you said, not anymore. I mean, still are not paid so well. But I think this is a great opportunity to develop, and this is the perfect way to combine those crafts with economic growth and with exploring those opportunities in that sense.
Yeah, and the climate and energy package. There already is legislation for the European Union to reduce its its energy reductions and or CO2 emissions. And how do you think that which measures Bulgaria is taking in reaching these measures which were set out?
It is a very good question for Bulgaria, to be honest, from 3 points of view. First of all, if we look in EU 28, we are the country which is the totally less energy efficient, absolutely energy not efficient. Unfortunately, this is the whole truth, and we need to be very open on it. On the other side, being more or less part of the newly acceded member states only 7 years ago, we were so much willing and so much pro-EU oriented, so we adopted the whole necessary legislation even quite in advance. And not only this, we've managed to fulfill some of the thresholds, some of the criteria quite in advance, well in advance, because we have targets following this EU 2020 for 2020 reductions of emissions and everything. We reached one of those targets for renewable energy. The target which was set for us for 2020, we reached already last year.
Okay.
But it provided us only totally negative impact on Bulgarian economy and on Bulgarian household. I will tell you why. Because reaching the target, excellent. In figures, we are perfect, more than perfect, quite well advanced. On the other side, we face a situation where we already produced and established solar and wind power stations and facilities, which fully fulfills the number necessary to be established. But we did it before the crisis, in the first years, when it was really very expensive to establish those. So we paid quite a big price for them. They are with a long-term contract to buy the energy produced there at a very high price. Meanwhile, for the last 2 years, those prices went down significantly. Now those kind of facilities cost 3, 5 to 10 times less from those which were invested recently, and from the first one we have 50 times less. And they produce, of course, cheaper energy, but now we buy them very expensive. So now we had to increase the price of electricity.
Yes.
Just because, of course, the normal citizens suffer a lot from this, and they are not anymore. Those prices are not anymore affordable for them, just because we reached the target. So this is a very interesting topic. We were very good in legislation, very good in achieving a target, but it brings us only negative.
Yeah, so do you think that in the future these legislation will be changed again, or not the mandatory legislation, but the national legislation of Bulgaria?
I think that more or less we need to change the legislation, and we are changing it, following the EU restriction. But on the other side, we still have a lot of challenges. And one of the challenges in energy efficiency, specifically this sector, which is important for us, as I mentioned, we are the most energy not efficient country, but it is a great potential from the other side. Because where is the biggest problem in our case? This is the buildings, the normal blocks of flats or houses. Because those buildings are not isolated, they don't have energy efficiency measures incorporated in them, because they are the old style of those communist type of blocks of flat, which are absolutely, at that time the heating was just given for pennies, and it was no problem to. And now we pay quite significant price for heating. And calculations show that if we introduce energy efficiency measure, isolate buildings, windows, everything is done, every household will reduce its cost for heating and electricity with at least 60%. And it is, if you pay €100, you can pay 50. I mean, it is quite a significant, especially in the case that we are still the poorest country, unfortunately. So this is important, and this will provide better living for people, less minimizing, reducing payments, and on the other side supporting economy, because this will provide, because we have plenty of those buildings to be renovated and to be converted to become energy efficient. So it will provide to small and medium companies in construction really good opportunity for work. and this is important for the economy development. So it is a great opportunity on the other side. If we compare it to the other wind and solar problem, I think we can a little bit balance the situation with the energy efficiency measures of buildings, not only of private buildings, of course, of public buildings and companies and manufacturing buildings, etc.
Thank you very much. Do you have any other additions? No.
I can have a lot of other questions, but
I'm
unfortunately we do not have the time.
Yeah. Okay. Then we want to thank you very much for being here and for the presentation you will give.
Thank you.
later on
Thank you
today
very much.
Already, it will be. I'm already sure it will be fine. It will be really good.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
thank you for the interview.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.